Hello and welcome back to another video. Something important arrived in the post today. I've been waiting for 6 to 8 weeks for this to arrive, and it finally came through and was delivered this morning. So let me show you what I've purchased. So what arrived this morning was the shield kit for the KX3, and this one is made by windcampgear.com. And it literally compromises of 2 side plates with the extra handles, a heatsink and a acrylic cover. And I've purchased this because in recent weeks I've noticed that my control knobs on the KX3, and if I can get the camera to focus in there, are getting more and more damaged, and this is partly because of the case which I use. This is the case which I use and take my radio out in, but it offers very little protection for the front of the panel. It's still very soft. So the idea is, if I install these onto the sides of the KX3, I wasn't originally too bothered about the heatsink because I never run enough power through it, but certainly this is what I was after. The idea is that I can install these. It gives me a little bit of a headspace here and just provides some protection to the front of the panel. Now with this it comes the acrylic cover, and already it literally was opened today, and already you can see here, if I can get the camera to focus in, there is some damage already to one side of it, and at the other side the acrylic end plate has actually come out already. So it got damaged in transit, I believe. I've spoken to the supplier and they're going to send me out another acrylic cover, so that's absolutely fine. So I purchased this off eBay. It cost £40 and came over from China, and it took 6 to 8 weeks with no import duty. So here's my KX3. Had this now for 2 years. Had to prove to my wife that I do actually own this radio and I haven't just bought it today, who thought I had actually bought it today, but no. So I thought what I'll do is fit the plates and we'll have a go at the heatsink. I don't know whether to do this or not, and show you how it gets installed. The heatsink, by the way, doesn't come with any extra screws, so I'm assuming the screws that I have in the back at the moment are long enough to go through this one, but it does come with some heatsink compound and a very natty little heatsink spoon. I suppose that's what you call it, a spreader, I don't know. But we'll have a look at this one a bit later on. Let's fit the side plates anyway. Okay, so let's have a look at what we actually need to do this. Tools wise, I'm using a Phillips screwdriver. I've got a 10mm spanner, and just to help me if I lose a screw, I've got some needle nose pliers. So looking at the side panels, you can see that they are quite a bit thicker than the originals, and obviously they're taller as well, these extra pieces here. You'll see that they've milled out a recess for the microphone and the sockets here, so that gives you an idea that these are a little bit thicker than the originals, and I hope that makes them a little bit more substantial. So we've got 2 sides. This is obviously where all the sockets go in, and then this one here simply clamps over the aerial socket. There we go. And so we'll fit these on first of all. First thing we need to do is open up the radio. Now it's been about a year or so since I last did this, so this could be quite good fun. We just need to undo the 2 sockets and lift it apart. I'm also going to take this opportunity as well to look around inside and make sure everything is okay. There we go. Now I built this radio in 2013. It was the Easter weekend project for me, this was. And I thoroughly enjoyed building it actually. So there we go, that's it taken apart. Now all I need to do is undo the 2 screws this side. And you need to reuse your screws that you built it with, so don't throw those away, whatever you do. Like so. And then it's just a case of attaching them back on again. Making sure, of course, you have the right side on the right side of the radio, which I very nearly didn't do there. I'm trying to do this at an angle which you can see quite clearly, otherwise I would be doing this in a slightly different angle. Okay, that's one side. Let's swing it round to the other side, and this is where we need our 10mm spanner just to undo the microphone socket. Okay, good. And undo the 2 screws. I think it's fair to say it took me longer to open the packet that this was delivered in than it's actually taken to install, which just goes to show how stupidly simple this upgrade is. Now, because it is quite heavily recessed, I'm going to have a bit of a problem just applying the last few tightens of that, but I think that's good enough. Okay, good. And if that's all I wanted to do, that would be it. I would put that back together, making sure that the battery cable is not crushed, and that'll be that. And I think you'll find that now the knobs are not going to touch the bottom, and it looks quite nice. But I wasn't sure about the heatsink, and I think, well, I'm certainly not sure about the colour, but I wasn't sure about the heatsink, to be fair. It's going to go on there like so. What do you think? I've watched a couple of videos where they've compared the temperature of the PA transistors with and without the heatsink, and there is a good argument to putting these extra heat sinks on, but I genuinely never run it at 10 watts. I only run it at 5, and it's outdoors nearly all the time, so I don't know. Let's put it on, but I don't think we'll use the conductive paint, but let's put it on and we'll see what difference it makes. So again, it's just a case of undoing the screws, and also we've got to undo the nuts as well. Now, I haven't got a spanner that small, so we're just going to use our very fine pliers here just to undo those for me. And then what we'll do is we'll compare the factory heatsink with this bright red monstrosity. And I'll tell you what, I am glad I used the needle nose pliers, so I'd never be able to hold on to the nuts, so to speak. So that's the 2 PA transistors undone. There's nothing to hold on to on the inside for that screw there. And there is only 4 screws that hold on the heatsink. And again, this is going to be a 2-minute job to replace this. And I hope you can see it as I'm doing it. I'm doing it at a slightly strange angle, to be honest. Right, so remembering that the different sizes are for different parts. See, that is actually quite a thin piece of aluminium, and then compare it to this, it is substantially, yeah, it is actually quite a lot more substantial. We will put it on, I think. So again, we're using the original screws, and this one's quite a long one, isn't it? Because this one goes through the roofing filter as well, which keeps that in place. When I purchased this radio, I had every possible optional extra bolt-on that was available at that time, and it wasn't cheap, not by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, there's quite a funny story about how expensive this radio was for me, which I do love telling. That when I bought this radio, it was only going to be, I think it was about £1,600. But my dear wife, who has put up with a lot of radio purchases from me over the years, did in fact say, whatever you spend on the radio, I need the same amount of numeration as a compensation. As an idea to put me off buying it, to be fair. Well, it didn't work because I went and bought it anyway. So actually this radio cost me about £3,000. Yeah. She was surprised as I was that I actually went through with that. Okay, that's nice and tight. Now I am surprised that these actually fit so well. I thought that you would need longer screws actually because of the extra thickness, but not. Good, very nice and tight. Okay. So you notice that there's no batteries in here at the moment, and that's for a very good reason. I did have batteries in here. I had some rechargeables in here, but I noticed that the batteries started to corrode, and they went a bit funny. And they were only in there for 6 months, and I didn't like the way that they were degrading so quickly. So I took the batteries out, and to be honest with you, I don't use battery power anyway when I'm out and about. I use my external LiPo battery, which I have. Okay, and so I took them out, and apart from it not remembering the time, it hasn't actually made much difference. And there we go, that is the side panels, the shield kit installed. I think that looks quite neat. I'm not sure about that. I'm still not sure about that. But if I put the cover on, that's going to protect the front panel now. Now the acid test is, will it still fit in my case? Let's have a look. Let's fold the feet in. I suspect it's not quite going to fit in there now. I might be wrong. It does fit in there. Good stuff. So there we go. If you do put the kit on, you will be able to get it into the Think Tank strobe stuff pouch, which I use, and that's good to know anyway. So there we go. That's the shield kit installed. I haven't put any thermal paste on the heatsink. I'm going to see how it goes, see whether it actually needs it, because like I said, I just don't run it at that power. And we'll see what this behaves like. So I hope that's been of use to you. Any questions, let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.